A couple weeks ago, I asked all of our lovely followers to send in questions for us to answer, and my original intention was to answer them while out on my previous solo camping trip. However, it didn't work out too well when I found that I didn't have the necessary cell coverage in order to retrieve those questions, and frankly, it's a lot more fun to answer these questions together. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to answer your questions. And we'll talk about all sorts of things based on the questions that we did receive. We'll talk a little bit about the rig, some future plans we have, and also just some general Q&A questions that you guys sent in. So unless you have something else to say, we'll get right into it.
Nope. Okay, first question is from David Hain. Do both of you share the same love and interest in overlanding, or is it mainly you, referring to Dylan? The reason I ask is because you do most of the talking in the video productions. It's a great question, because you're right, Dylan does do most of the talking when it comes to the rig and all that. So I would say definitely yes. He is much more interested in the technical stuff, in researching and finding the gear that we're going to go with for the rig, and he's also really great at planning all our trips. I try to help a little bit with that, but that is his strong point. However, I do love hiking and camping. I have since I was a little kid. So I am very much in my element as well with all of it. Maybe not just quite as in the forefront as Dylan is.
Yeah, I would say that this is a really good question, actually, because I think it's really insightful into our future goals for the channel. Our goal for the channel was never to be an overlanding channel. You'll notice that we don't have Overland in the name of our channel. It just happens to be the thing that we were able to step into when it came to YouTube. There was an opportunity to step into a growing niche on YouTube, if you will. And we happen to choose a vehicle that doesn't have a ton of other creators making content for it. I would say we're not wildly passionate about overlanding at all. I would say that we're much more interested in hiking and camping and just being outdoors, and the overlanding style of camping, this idea of having a vehicle that's built out to make your camping more comfortable, a little more enjoyable, a vehicle that can, get you to places that an ordinary vehicle might not be able to do. That kind of appeals to us in terms of the kind of outdoor activities that we like doing. So I hope I didn't scare you all off. You're all going to think, oh, they're not overlanders, unsubscribe. But anyway, yeah, I'd say we're both equally as passionate about the outdoors and doing outdoor activities. Overlanding from the technical side of things, the equipment, the gear, and all that. Yeah, that's definitely my thing.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Next, we've got from Galaxy 2191. The question is, how long does it take to plan, pack, and get to your destination? How do you store your gear when returning from a trip? How do you increase your confidence level when just getting started? Spent some time camping with fam as a kid, trying to get back into it as an adult. That's a good question.
It's a lot of questions.
Yeah, so I'll let you talk about packing. I'll talk about planning. Planning, honestly, I spend an inordinate amount of time planning trips. That's the one thing that I think really separates like backcountry overland travel from just going out camping. Like next week we're going to Yellowstone. Really excited to share that trip with you guys. And if we were just going to Yellowstone and we were just camping normally, it might take me an hour to find, a campground and, a few good places to go see some scenery. Wouldn't take me that long at all. But as soon as you want to camp in the backcountry, you've got to do so much more research. You've got to dig through, well, for me, it's digging through Gaia maps and finding forest roads that we could potentially camp off of. Also, this time of year, this has got to be the most challenging time of year when it comes to finding camping locations at the higher elevations, at least here in the western mountain states, because you don't know, what high elevation areas are still under snowpack that you can't get to at all. So I would say for one of our normal trips that you might see on our channel, I would say I spend probably at least 2 or 3 hours planning it. That's probably a lower estimate too. You know, it depends on the length of the trip too. So packing?
Packing. That's kind of a funny question because it's the exact opposite. Usually when we decide to go camping, it's because we found a free night or two. Dylan already has a good spot planned out, and we throw everything in the car and go. So I maybe take a half hour to pack our clothes. I make a really quick shopping list, and we hit Walmart on the way out. That's normally how it goes, so it doesn't take too long. Any input there?
Yeah, well, I was thinking about, because most of our trips are just overnight trips. That's the kind of channel we are, you know, we're not driving down to South America and back. I guess our longest trip we did was the Georgia Traverse back in June, but I can't really comment on that because we got married. We went on our honeymoon in North Carolina. We drove to Virginia, and then we hit the Georgia Traverse. We were literally just living on the road for like 2 weeks straight, so it's kind of hard to say how we packed for that because we had all sorts of stuff. I mean, your wedding dress was with us, so you know. So yeah, I'd say that's about it for planning and packing. Oh, and how long does it take to get to your destination? Well,
that's actually one thing that we love about being here is that we can go if we have a few hours at night and then a few hours in the morning. There are so many places around here that we can just jump in the car and be there within an hour. So a lot of places are pretty close to up in the Ogden area of Utah.
Yeah, we've got forest land that has good free camping literally 15 minutes away. Yeah. That wasn't something that we experienced when we lived back east. I mean, I grew up in Atlanta where, you know, the closest dispersed camping was literally like an hour and a half to 2 hours away. So, yeah, that's one thing. Yeah, living close to good destinations, that's a perk. And then how do you increase your confidence level when just getting started? I don't know. I think, I don't know, a trial run in your backyard maybe, and then just go out and do it.
You should know that even with us, when we've been doing this for a while, there's still a lot of winging it. I don't necessarily think we're experts. We've learned some tricks, but I wouldn't feel too intimidated if you haven't done it for a while. Just think through your day, cover your bases, and if you run into some problems, just roll with it. That's part of the fun of it. It really is.
I think that's the difference between somebody who's been camping out in the backcountry for a long time versus somebody who hasn't. You know, the ability to adapt, you know, the ability to quickly re-navigate yourself if you need to. You just got to get out and do it. In terms of, you know, being comfortable out in the backcountry, I know that's something that was kind of odd to me. Not everybody feels comfortable camping away from other people, but I tell you what, you're so much more safe out in the backcountry, you know, as opposed to being in more populated areas. So yeah, you just got to go out and do it. And I don't know, maybe find a friend that's done it a little bit more than you and go out and do it with them. So, cool. All right. I've been looking forward to this question.
This is a question. Okay, James M.
Well, and we should mention James M. He's probably one of
our best fan.
He's been following us from the beginning. I know he's watching this. He's got an excellent Instagram account with some really good wildlife photography. Highly recommend that you check out that.
Okay. Do you think aspiration wealth overlanding videos where guys have like Ram TRXs outfitted to cost 80 to 120K, then sleep in a spot you can get to in a stock 94 Cherokee are exciting new campers or driving gear lust and gatekeeping younger adventurers' spirits? I'll let you go first.
I don't have a problem with rigs like that, because I think most of the time when somebody sees a rig that's built up that expensively, I think there's an understanding that that's kind of, you know, that's like a specialty thing. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a comparison here. Like, I think somebody who's aspiring to be a good chef, you know, if they see Gordon Ramsay's kitchen, they're probably not going to be too bothered by that. You know, they'll probably hopefully have an understanding that you can still cook great food with just minimal equipment. But I will say, I can't stand watching channels that feature rigs like that. It's just not real life, you know?
Yeah. Like, sorry, we got out of college a year ago and we don't have the money to pour into something like that, but we're still having tons of fun. So it just doesn't make much sense to me personally why you would pour so much money into it.
I don't know. I just personally, I don't find myself interested in channels that feature really expensive rigs like that. They just don't do it for me.
It's way more fun to watch somebody redneck their way through something than to watch somebody with a bunch of stuff that's shiny and does everything for you.
I want to see people DIY and build their own stuff.
Yeah.
I want to see people find creative solutions, inexpensive solutions. And also when it comes to like channels, I want to see good production quality. You know, that's, to me, I'd much rather somebody invest a lot of money in some nice camera gear and make quality videos instead of dumping it all into, you know, $100,000, you know, RAM build or whatever.
The gatekeeping that you mentioned is really interesting. So let's just clarify it here. You don't have to have that kind of money and that kind of a rig to have fun. Really don't.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think the good thing about YouTube nowadays is the overlanding niche on YouTube kind of started out with almost nothing but that. But for every channel that has something like that, there's somebody like us out there too that makes, you know, cost-effective content too. Eastman 8027 asks, how's the reliability of your vehicle, transmission, and engine? Crazy, you should ask. We actually have a video dedicated just to that. It'll be linked in the description. It'll also be up in the top corner wherever it is. It's actually our most popular video ever. So yeah, check it out. We talked about all that stuff. So I'll move on to the next one. Dan Guys Z. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing. I think it's Dan and then his last name. But anyway, do you have a favorite Utah park, trail, or campsite yet?
Oh,
I don't think we've been here long enough to really comment on that, but I'm a big fan of American Fork Canyon, just south of Salt Lake, kind of close to Provo. Really nice area. I want to explore that a little bit more. Good hiking, really excellent scenery, you know. Think like Colorado Rockies type of views. Lots of cool stuff. It's a little crowded down there, but it's nice. I'd say that's probably my personal favorite.
we did also take a trip out to the Uintas in East Utah, and that was amazing. We can't wait to go back. This is going to sound so terribly cliche. I don't even know if I should say it, but favorite trail. I had never done Angel's Landing before we moved out here, and I almost died. Not from falling, just from exertion.
Yeah.
Wow.
Best hiking trail.
Amazing.
Ever in my mind. At least like best hike you can do in an afternoon. Angel's Landing for sure. Not for the faint of heart.
No.
We do have a video that features it, but it's a short highlight video from our trip to Zion. There's no narrative really that goes with it, but we'll link that too.
Give it a look.
All right.
Okay. Okay, this is from someone named Peyton Silvius. Sorry if I didn't pronounce that correctly. Do you guys get exhausted from making fire content? When do you ever rest? This is kind of funny because I talked to a few people that have been watching our channel that we just hadn't seen in a while, and they were like, "You guys are just traveling all the time. It looks like so much fun." And I was like, I feel like maybe we get out once a month if we're lucky, and that's just a really quick overnight trip. So maybe it seems like we're doing a lot more than we are. I might be wrong. I hate to burst anybody's bubble that thinks that we do this full time or something.
Oh, I should mention that Lakin was making a joke. Peyton is obviously a very close friend of ours. Her and her husband Nolan were in a video with us a while back. Actually, they've been in a couple videos, I think. Yeah, I think that's one of the interesting components of having an online presence is, you know, most people don't see anything but the content you post, so they think sometimes that that's all there is. But to be completely honest, we're in a really busy stage of our lives. It takes, it takes a lot of time and effort to do our normal day-to-day stuff, the jobs we work, and then also, produce videos for a channel like this. We definitely don't post as frequently as we'd like to. There's a lot of things that we'd like to do, but at least right now in this stage of life, we're pretty busy. So I'd say we do the best that we can. When do we ever rest? We stay pretty well rested. I stay way better rested than I did in college. So Ginger_Nick says, favorite tire size pre-lift, stock tire size. We need to make a video dedicated to that. But I would say if you're not going to lift, just go with the stock tire size or maybe 1 inch taller than that. I like narrow tires. You get better gas mileage with them. So if you're going to get a taller tire, maybe also decrease the width a little bit. Yeah. I need to make a video for that. Yeah.
Keep an eye out.
I am Joe Lido asks, happy where the rig currently sits? Any future mods, upgrades? Well, funny you should ask, because we're currently...
We're in a crisis.
Well, I wouldn't say a crisis, but I don't know. We've had our rooftop tent about a year now, and we've used it on every trip that we've gone on, and it's nice. It gets the job done. But I'm starting to find that I'm not entirely satisfied with it, and all of the complaints I have with it are all intrinsically linked to it being a rooftop tent. It's not really something that another rooftop tent would fix.
Maybe a little bit of a faster breakdown time, but not much.
Yeah. I guess if you had a hard-shelled tent, you might be able to do better with that. But honestly, I just don't like crawling up in there when I go to sleep. It's really not ideal if you have to use the bathroom in the middle of the night. So I would say that we're interested in looking into ground tent options.
If you have a suggestion, drop it. We want to know.
Yeah, we're looking at stuff like gazelle tents. And yeah, I'm thinking our trip to Yellowstone will probably be our last trip with a tent. Maybe, I don't know. We might think about it a couple more days and then decide we want to keep it. But I don't know. That's kind of the direction I'm going with. And with us being a budget-focused channel, it's hard for me to really get behind a rooftop tent because there is no such thing as a budget rooftop tent. They're all, inordinately expensive.
I mean, we got the cheapest one on the market, and it was still $700.
Yeah, and we bought it used, too.
Yeah.
Or, no, it wasn't used, but it was secondhand. It was secondhand still in the box, $700. It's a little tight in there. I'd like to be able to stand up. So, I don't know. So that's it for the tent. In terms of other mods and upgrades, I want to do onboard air at some point. We do have a second battery that's being shipped to us right now that will add to the solar. I want to be able to run our fridge overnight very confidently, and also have potential power saved in our jackery for like running electric blanket, charging drone batteries, all those types of things. I don't know, anything else that I've mentioned to you? I have all sorts of ideas, but...
Needs new shocks.
Yes. I should mention, a while back I made a video on our cheap Universal Summit racing shocks. And I was pleased with them at first, but they haven't really aged very well. I've noticed that one of the shocks, the bushing is going out, and also it's, I think it's getting old and worn out, which is funny because it's less than a year old, but I mean, it's a $35 shock. So it doesn't absorb bumps very well. I can tell that it's really just spring that's, compressing and decompressing on that side. So I want to replace that with something more high quality. I wouldn't say that we ruined our Sequoia with those shocks. That's the thing about shocks is, if they don't work out, it's pretty easy to swap them out. Yeah. All right, and then I think we got one more here.
Okay. All right, last question from Ethan Conklin 3. Which wheels should I get for my Sequoia? Thoughts?
I think the most important thing to keep in mind is what tire do you want to run. So if you want to do like a 285, you're going to need some more offset. I've got a video dedicated all to fitting 33s on your Sequoia, so there's a lot of wheel information in there for you regarding offset. But I would think that would be the first thing. If you don't need a different offset, honestly, I'd probably just stick with your stock wheels as long as you can. That's the thing, like, your stock rims, they're coming from Toyota. Or even if you don't have a Toyota, even if you have, whatever brand, an OEM wheel is always going to be built to a very well built standard. It's going to be high quality, and it's going to probably look decent. I personally hated the wheels that came on our Sequoia. That was the main reason why I was so anxious to put something else on, and also that honestly, we have fuel wheels and they're awesome. They look great. I chose them. They're definitely my favorite looking wheel I've ever seen on one of these. But honestly, they were definitely a luxury purchase. I bought them because I liked them. And at the time, I was also working at Discount Tire, and I got a substantial discount on them. So if you're just a normal Joe who's not getting a discount on your wheels, I would just say stick with your stock wheels. If you really want to shake things up, I might look at getting a set of used wheels from something like a newer Tacoma, 4Runner.
Those are good looking.
They look good, yeah. You can pull, because that's the thing is, there's tons of those wheels floating around on the used market, especially out here in Utah. Man, there's so many people that upgrade their wheels and they sell their old ones when they swap them out. So I'd look at something like that. If I wasn't working at Discount Tire at the time that's probably what I would have done. I would have just waited out to get some used wheels like that, and they would have looked great. I mean, they come from Toyota too, so they're high quality, and Sequoias, Tacomas, first gen Tundras, they're all sharing the same bolt patterns. So you can swap your wheels. GX 460, 470s too, all of the same bolt patterns. You can swap wheels around. But yeah, wheels are not really, most of the time wheels are a form over function type thing. So I would say,
you should, this is what you need to do. You need to get the chrome wheels that have like the really long spindles that are usually on like Cadillacs from the 70s.
And get lug nuts that are big, like 6-inch spikes. So that way
that's what I want to see on a
That
Sequoia.
way, if you have a road rage incident, you can be all Mad Max on them and just, push your tire into them. And this is poor advice we're giving out right now. Anyway, I think that's pretty much it. Anything else you want to talk about?
I don't think so. If you have more questions for us, please drop them below. We can either do this again or we can just answer it in another video at the end of one, but we always love hearing your questions.
Yep. Anyway, if you stuck around for the whole length of this video, we also really appreciate that too. But anyway, stay tuned. We got a lot of stuff coming this month if we could get around to it. We're, once again, like I mentioned, we're very busy, but thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.